Previously, we talked about all the amazing games, or rather potential to be amazing, with the top upcoming games of 2019, but today let's talk about other games which aren't as known. Without any further ado, let's start with not number 10, but with number 20. All the listed games are also found in the description for your viewing pleasure.
In 1783, a horde of demons spilled from the shadows and fell upon city after English city. 10 years have passed, and mankind too soon forgets tragedy. The demons have returned.
Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. Bloodstained is the so-called spiritual successor of the old Castlevania games. In fact, it's being created by one of its former producers. It is a crowd-funded game all the way back from 2015, which is something that rarely proves fruitful. However, here we have some reassurance, as the earlier Bloodstained game, Curse of the Moon, made in a retro style, was released in 2018 to a pretty amazing reception. Now, it is a Metroidvania style of game where you play as a character named Miriam, taking on the role to stop an outbreak of demons. You're gonna have powers to unlock, craft weapons and armor, discover secrets and more as you progress through the fairly complex levels. Contrary to the Bloodstained Curse of the Moon game, here it is a 2.5D game made on Unreal Engine 4, so graphics wise it's gonna be far more impressive than its companion game. Release date is not confirmed, but expected to be somewhere in 2019. Up next, we have Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Now, this is one of those that we call indie, but still Moon Studios, its developers, do have Microsoft at their back. Even though there is no financial aid, they still do the marketing and publishing. Either way, the original Ori game was a huge success. Its beautiful art style and visual storytelling to its gameplay captivated many people, including myself. Ori and the Will of the Wisps just seems to bring more of that on its sequel, and I cannot wait to see what else is in store, and probably cry a lot. Yeah, most likely. Super Meat Boy Forever. The original Super Meat Boy grew to be a quite popular game. Described as tough as nails platformer, it brought a pretty high difficulty level to the platform genre. Super Meat Boy Forever is just taking on that recipe to be bigger and better. The hard but fair labeling seems to be staying, graphics have been polished to a higher resolution, bigger boss fights and more. It's not clear if the release date is 2019 or 2020, but come on, Meat Boy and Bandage Girl got a daughter named Nugget. What else can you ask for? Next, we have Minoria, the spiritual successor to the Momodora series, created by the same developers. An action platformer, just like its predecessor. Now, if anything is like the original, we are in for a treat. Combat was amazing, skill-based, fluid, and here the story seems to be taking on a bigger role. Its graphic style seems to be even more impressive, while its predecessor employed a unique technique of hand-drawn environments mixed in with cel shading. Here it seems we have the same, however more detailed and polished. There's no clear release date yet, but somewhere in 2019 we should finally be able to burn down some heretics. Next, we have The Last Night. Now, The Last Night took E3 by storm with its original trailer. A super unique and awesome art style with a highly interesting and intriguing storyline set in a cyberpunkish world. All of this made a lot of us look forward to the game. Sadly, it was put on a hold for the time being, initially supposed to come out in 2019. Now there's no clear indication if even the game is ever gonna come out. Nevertheless, I had to put it up here as it simply deserves the spot. Following, we have Tunic. Taking a lot of inspiration from the Zelda games, we take on a role of a tiny, cute little fox on this action-adventure world where we will explore, discover lost ruins, and fight ancient creatures. The art style is probably what will catch your attention at first. It is downright gorgeous, with a cute sort of innocent aesthetic to it. On that alone, and the fact that it is highly inspired by Zelda, I cannot wait to try it out, but release date doesn't seem to be that awfully clear, just somewhere in 2019. The Sinking City. Now, The Sinking City is based on something that I wish more games were based on, which is a mythology that I honestly find so fascinating: Lovecraftian horror. On this world, you will explore on foot, on boats, and even dive on its terrifying waters, all to figure out what happened to this city and its people. A short answer: crazy tentacle stuff. Mainly focusing on adventure and investigation type of gameplay, it also seems to have some combat mechanics with a variety of weapons set around the 1920s. On its creepy theme alone, I cannot wait to give this one a try. Last Campfire. Like Tunic, is another beautiful yet cute-looking game, although here is made by Outlaw Games, known for No Man's Sky, which I know, didn't went all that well, but all those updates to the game made it surprisingly good, and honestly, I should make a video about it sometime. But The Last Campfire is far less ambitious than their previous title, focusing solely on adventure, exploration, and visual storytelling. Like many games on this list, release date is not clear, but somewhere in 2019.
I've never been particularly fond of violence, but these are bad people that need to be stopped. So let's get crazy, let's get weird, let's get, well, bananas.
My friend Pedro. To change the pace a bit, we have a shooter game made by the same folks that produced Hotline Miami. Needless to say, it got tons of attention on that alone. With this new title, we're taking on a role of a Deadpool wannabe, and that's not to downplay it or anything. That's awesome as it sounds. Basically, you're gonna be shooting everything in sight in the most fun and stylish way possible. And there's a banana, because why not?
Bananas. Bananas.
Surprise, buttface!
Do try not to die while action items remain unticked.
Gotcha!
Client expired.
Following up, Void Bastards. Now, Void Bastards is highly inspired by games such as Bioshock and System Shock, which personally are one of my favorite FPS games of all time, and hell, best games of all time. But here, graphics-wise, is taking on that cel-shading look, although highly impressive one. Calling itself a strategy shooter, it's blending the two genres of not just going in and shoot everybody, but also plan around and what you want to do in a strategy manner, while trying to save your crew of misfits, prisoners, through a derelict spaceships. A very interesting theme and gameplay overall, with its release somewhere in 2019.
No respect for synergizing.
Equinox Deep Descent. It's a sequel or almost like a remake to the original Equinox game from 2001, a first-person vehicle game where you control a ship, but not in space, which is far more common, but underwater. Set in a distant future on Earth, where surface is no longer available, it's now your job to explore the deepest parts of the oceans. Honestly, it feels like a mix of Subnautica with space fighting mechanics, which I'm totally in for. Redoubt Space Assault. Going from underwater ships to actual flying ships in outer space, we have Redoubt. Being a tactical dogfighting shooter game, we will be able to customize our ship to our liking, going on a campaign to become the best dogfighter in the galaxy, or even fight other people online. I'm always a sucker for space fighting games, so I'll keep an eye on this one. Being a sequel to the original Redoubt game, which was fairly decent, gives some hope. Still on that space fighting goodness, we have Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, this time in the first person view instead of the third person of Redoubt. Being a sequel to the original Rebel Galaxy, unlike the Redoubt game, we take on the role of a dogfighting pilot, although here is taking that Han Solo approach of being an outlaw smuggler type of space fighting. A small twist made on the genre, and one that makes it even more interesting. Moving out of the spaceship fighting games, let's move over to Fimble. Fimble is a fairly unique looking game, to say the least. Following the comic book style, it tells the story of the last winter before Ragnarok, being the Viking sort of apocalypse, as I'm sure you know from the Thor movie. Now, the storytelling here, along with its visuals and the combat, is what really caught my eye. The combat seems to be extremely satisfying and bloody, fitting perfectly with that Viking theme, plus the way the blood contrasts with the snow and the overall white look of the game. It honestly looks quite beautiful. Yes, I'm sadistic like that. On a brighter note, the game is gonna reach us soon in 28th of February.
This is it. This is where it all ended. I wonder
wonder how much things have changed.
Take my clothes and what's my name?
Next we have Twin Mirror. Now Twin Mirror comes from the developers of Life is Strange, which the recent iteration has not been hugely impressive for me, but the original game I adored. So Twin Mirror is taking that same storytelling way of Life is Strange, but mixing it with more investigation themes, as after waking up in a hotel with a bloody shirt, you take on the role of Samuel to find out what happened. It has been described as a Life is Strange meets Fight Club, and even though these games are usually absent of meaningful gameplay, I'm a sucker for a good story.
What happened last night? Oh shit! All that blood. And that's definitely my shirt from last night.
Following Twin Mirror as a story-based game, we have Plague Tale: Innocence. Honestly, the trailers for this game have been nothing but amazing. Set during the Black Plague in France, it tells a survival story of two siblings, brother and sister. Gameplay-wise, it's blending adventure and stealth elements in order to avoid the twisted version of black rats and other hideous, plagued creatures throughout the game. Graphically, it also looks dark, mysterious, and hauntingly beautiful, really.
I don't like this.
Hey, what's that noise?
Because
Oh, no. Amicia, stay close to me. I think we're in the home.
This is Nikola Tesla speaking, and unless it wasn't already obvious, this ship is under strict quarantine. There is to be no movement on board of the Helios.
Ada, what the hell is going on?
There's been an accident.
Close to the Sun. This is yet another dark and beautiful game, a first-person horror, very reminiscent of games like Bioshock, at least visually, set during the end of the 19th century on a twisted and mysterious ship complex created by Nikola Tesla. It is now your job as a journalist named Rose to find out what happened. Like Twin Mirror and Plague Tale: Innocence is one more of those story-driven games, but this one taking a much closer approach to the horror style of gameplay.
That you'll suffer the same fate I did. I've spent a lifetime in this place. An ancient underground city. Its existence long forgotten.
And finally, we have the Forgotten City. Now, Forgotten City is an interesting one because it is a standalone version of a very popular mod for Skyrim by the same name. Set in a mythological Roman city, you will be able to create your character, take upon any action that you like, Elder Scrolls style, this being stealing, killing, talking to any character, and etc. While its story, it's blending time travel, murder, mystery with the ancient Roman times. Quite an unique setting to say the least. Being now made on Unreal Engine 4, graphically is far more impressive than the mod, and the combat should also feel far more impactful than the outdated Bethesda creation engine. So yeah guys, that covers it all. This list could have gone far longer, but I got to stop myself at some point. Down in the description you can find the names to all the games listed above and more, as there is so many potential great games out there that barely anyone knows about, so I'll keep that description fairly updated. Do tell me, however, what games in particular, indie or smaller games like AA games, are you looking forward to the most in 2019. As always, thank you for watching, smash that like button, and I will see you all again soon.